Hey, hold on one second. Before you enjoy this amazing content from Meaningful Minute, please go ahead and make sure to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment. We love hearing back from you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Thread.
Okay, Wednesday,
November 9th.
November 9th.
Yeah,
November
listen,
9th, yes.
Let's cut straight to it. Yesterday was not a red wave. It maybe was a red puddle.
Trickle.
Maybe a red sprinkle.
Or a sprinkle.
But
Sprinkle's
I think
more
that
like it, I think.
just to cut to the chase, the anticipation, we know over the last couple of years, Joe Biden's presidency has been pretty bad. The economy has been awful. Gas prices have been awful.
Inflation is high.
Inflation
Crime is raging out of
so
control.
you'd think that during these midterm elections, what you'll see is the people fighting against the Democrats and electing Republicans.
Right.
But from my perspective, I think a big issue and why we didn't see that happen in large numbers, everyone was anticipating a red wave, but in my estimation of things is that Donald Trump endorsed people, and the people who Donald Trump endorsed didn't win.
A lot of them did win.
Well,
he had a news conference last night.
He went 9 for 8.
No, I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers. You didn't tell me you were going to mention that.
I'm pretty sure he went 9 for 8.
What does 9 for 8 mean?
Meaning, so he went 50%.
The Mets would sign somebody with that kind of record, like $20 million a year.
My point is, I'll read to you. I want to read this to you because this is a discussion worth having, because I think that we're at this point and ready to discuss it. And this is a tweet that came out 18 hours ago from Ami Magazine, and it says the following. It's high time for the Republicans to acknowledge that while Donald Trump was the 45th president of the United States, he was not reelected as president, nor does he stand a chance of being elected president ever again. The time has come to turn the page to Governor Ron DeSantis. Now,
yes, sir.
I just want to say that harsh tweet, Ami Magazine, who's really a Trump pacifist for a very long time, I fully agree with their stance on the matter. I fully agree with what we saw yesterday. I think is a result of people aligning themselves with Donald Trump. Donald Trump endorsed Lee Zeldin, and I know that people in New York made it their business to make sure Lee Zeldin does not get into power because of Donald Trump's endorsement. And I think that, look, a guy like Governor DeSantis, who last time won by 30,000 votes, he won by over 1 million votes last night. If anything good comes out of last night, it's the fact that Governor DeSantis is now stepping into the spotlight, and I think he's a Republican nominee that we can actually count on to take on a Democrat in 2 years from now. But we need to cut ties as a community, as a people. Okay. Donald Trump is not it. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Okay, I don't disagree with you, but you don't have to cut ties. It's still a free country. And if Donald Trump wants to run, he's going to run. But he's not a king of the Republican Party, and it doesn't require for everyone to step
I don't think
aside.
the Republican Party should mention Donald Trump as our own.
They don't have that power. In the 2016 election, when Trump beat Hillary Clinton, if you remember the debates, there was 18 Republicans on the stage. Yeah. Mike Huckabee was on the stage. Jeb Bush was on the stage. Ted Cruz was on the stage. There's nothing holding back people from running.
I get that.
The political process is open and free. There's 2 years to go, and Ron DeSantis, I think he could beat Donald Trump in a primary, and he shouldn't hesitate to stake his claim to be hopefully a candidate for president of the United States in 2024. And if Trump decides to compete with him, more power to him. Let him do it. Let him do it. And I think, and you think apparently, and Ami Magazine believes it too, and a lot of people believe it, that the Trump era has passed.
I think it has passed, and not only has it passed, I think his involvement, and I think his involvement only hurts the Republican Party now. It doesn't help. His endorsements hurt, and I think there was a Republican candidate the other day that Trump was bashing. What has Trump said about DeSantis, who ended up winning by over 1 million votes?
Yeah,
he's bashing 20%. Him from today to tomorrow. Guess what?
But he did help. He helped J.D. Vance in Ohio, who was behind against Tim Ryan. J.D. Vance is a political novice. He never held political office before, and he was taking on Tim Ryan, who was a congressman for 20 years from Ohio. And and he was lagging in the polls. But once Trump put some koyach into him, he gained a lot of momentum, and he won handily last night. He won by a good solid 5-6 percentage points. So, nothing is 100% good or 100% bad.
Yeah, but Vance did not acknowledge Trump in his victory speech.
I didn't hear his victory speech.
And that's probably, you can't not note that.
I did hear.
I don't think the Republicans want to align themselves with Donald Trump anymore. He has spent the last many years, turning himself into a radical extremist, and you can't be arrogant. You can't be arrogant as a leader. You need to humble yourself. And that's what we want to see.
He might be arrogant, but I don't think he's a radical extremist. I think that in terms of political experience, Ron DeSantis is much more talented. He is more articulate. Donald Trump, I'm a fan of his to an extent, but I cringe because I think he has like a 7th grade vocabulary. He usually uses the same 7 or 8 words.
The best thing that could happen to DeSantis in regards to his presidential bid is to have a beef and to have an animosity with Donald Trump, because that makes him more attractive to independent and Democratic voters.
So listen to me. If DeSantis jumps in, Ted Cruz is going to jump in. He's also a talented guy, articulate guy, experienced guy, smart guy.
Yeah, but
he's also going to jump in.
He's not going to win the primary. He's not going to win the primary.
Nobody's stepping aside for anyone. They're going to go through the process, and there should be a process. It's a healthy thing for there to be a competitive process to find the proper candidate. That the consensus in the Republican Party wants them to run against whoever's going to run for the Democrats in 2024. Now, you said that the Jewish community, which is a minuscule amount of the population, is not going to lead the charge on trying to convince Donald Trump to step aside.
He's not going to step aside, but I think what we saw yesterday, what we're seeing now, is a clear referendum on Donald Trump. The country has been in shambles the last 2 years. We all have lost money in the market. Inflation is. I go to get a coffee and I have to take out a mortgage to get that.
Really?
It's out of control.
Where do you go for coffee?
I'm not going to mention, but
the stock market was supposed to go crazy today.
Yeah, the stock market was supposed to go crazy if there's a red wave. But the only red wave that's happening right now is when you look at the stock market. The stock market is just red. It's going down, down, down. But you would think that what happened after the last couple of years, this is going to be the day where we're going to fight back. But I personally believe Donald Trump's involvement, it hurts. It hurts people. He left a lot of scars on a lot of people, and people are not going to vote if they think he's involved.
Okay, I don't think the reason that Lee Zeldin is right now, he hasn't conceded defeat yet. I don't think the reason that Kathy Hochul went ahead and claimed victory, I don't think it's because of Donald Trump's endorsement.
I think it hurt Lee Zeldin tremendously that Donald Trump endorsed him.
You have to understand, New York is a crazy blue state. Okay?
I get that. But by the way, he's even if Lee Zeldin does end up losing, and like we said, there are many votes that still need to be counted, and we'll see what happens. But in all likelihood, he's not going to win this election. He got pretty close in a blue state. New York State is a blue state.
Yes.
And we're talking about like 4 points that he's down right now, 300,000 votes that he's down.
Right.
That's pretty incredible. And that says a lot. Listen, so that's our thoughts on the current election. I happen to agree with Ami Magazine with their stance on it. I think we turn this leaf, we turn this chapter, and we.
But I just want to say, I think whether Trump runs or not has nothing to do with the Jewish community. I think one of the things, even though he was a great supporter of Israel, Donald Trump, and he has Orthodox Jewish grandchildren in yeshiva, which is a unusual combination of circumstances. I think that in the course of his presidency, he demonstrated that he doesn't understand the American Jewish community. He once made a statement that the Jewish community is disloyal to him. They don't support him. And the fact of the matter is, whether it's Barack Obama or Joe Biden, over 75% of American Jews are going to vote for a Democrat. That's just the way things are. You can't jolt them out of that. I think Ronald Reagan, got the highest. In the second term in '84, got the second highest amount of American Jewish vote. But for Trump to say, when he say American Jews are disloyal, he demonstrates he does not understand the complexity and the diversity of what American Jewry is composed of.
Yep.
There's so many different levels and combinations and loyalties and dedications and all kinds of other different circumstances that constitutes when a Jewish person in America makes a decision about whether to support a candidate or not. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
On another note, let's just go ahead and take the assumption that Kathy Hochul is going to be the governor of New York. I wonder what that means for the Jewish communities who we really put all our chips and we put our eggs in one basket. We all came out and supported Lee Zeldin very heavily. She may look at the Jewish community and say, hey, well, you didn't really support me. I know that she did call the Satmar Rebbe's wife yesterday and did thank her for the support.
Okay, so
but beyond that, we really.
Well, I remember.
Does that hurt us?
Well, listen, when I was in camp in Cold War, we fought with all our might to win. But then when the other team won, we were still friends with all the guys on the other team.
I think there's a little difference here.
No, there's a corruption of it. A good politician, after the competitive race and a difficult election, no matter the crazy things you say in an election about your opponent, once the election is over, you have to get back to representing all the people. And the politicians all say it, especially the Democrats. They always say that. I'm representing all the people, even those that didn't vote for me. Unfortunately, It's not true often enough, but that's the way it should be, ideally.
Yeah. Today also is the anniversary of Kristallnacht. A tweet from Avi Meir, and I'll show the picture on the screen. This was my family's synagogue in Fulda, Germany. It was burned to the ground 84 years ago tonight on Reichsemprumenacht, also known as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. He had mentioned also in a subtweet that firefighters came to the scene not to put out the fires in the shuls, but to protect the other German-owned businesses that were nearby. So this is a day that we look back at the atrocities that were performed against the Jewish people. Kristallnacht is very well known in history. It's taught in the history books. This is the night where the Germans went around destroying Jewish businesses, destroying our synagogues, burning them to the ground. Yeah. And
this is what really instigated and got the Holocaust started. And one of the startling things was that people were everyday upstanding, loyal citizens of Germany, and they thought that the police were there to protect them, but the police were not there, like you said, to protect them. But they got orders from higher up, from Hitler and Goebbels. They got orders for the police to participate in the destruction of the Jewish community. So one part of your family they didn't live in Germany, but your grandparents were sole survivors of the Holocaust. They lived in Poland, but they felt the effects. Your grandmother and your grandfather, Olav Shalom, sole survivors of large families.
Yeah.
One had 9 kids in the family, one had 10 kids in the family. And they came here after the war in 1946 or 1947 all alone and had to rebuild their lives. Now, it was an outgrowth of what started 84 years ago today.
Another news story that's making rounds is coming out of the UK. A man has been detained by police after appearing to throw eggs at King Charles during a walkabout at Micklegate Bar in New York. The eggs landed about 1 foot away from the king. King Charles is not really...
what was he doing there?
People are not such fans of him.
I don't know. What kind of eggs were they throwing at him?
What type of eggs?
Raw eggs?
I think they were raw. I don't think they were throwing an omelet on them.
Listen, eggs are expensive.
I don't think a guy went to the store, got an omelet,
you said last week the $4 a dozen,
Well, listen, I happen to be under the opinion, and I wonder what you think about this in terms of the monarchy in general. I think that it's just it got a number of years left until the monarchy collapses. There's so much going on in the world. Do you think that could really last? You think that could really last the test of time?
I would say about the British monarchy that amongst the 1,000 or so things that I think about every day, that's not one of them. That's not one of them. That's like the last priority that I ever think about. I marvel at people that are fans of the British monarchy. It's completely meaningless. I happened to catch glimpses of Queen Elizabeth's funeral because it was a 2-week-long funeral. You couldn't avoid seeing it. I thought Genugschein,
Yeah.
It's enough. But I don't see what it reminds me of people that collect baseball cards. I used to be an avid baseball card collector.
Oh, were you?
And the card stayed in a box, and
then your mother gave it away.
She gave it away after I got married, and that's why the cards that are still around are worth so much money, because everybody's mother threw out the cards.
I'll tell you it's almost like a column that we have nowadays, but I don't know, their front covers are very interesting usually. The cover of the New York Post today is a picture of Governor DeSantis, and the title is The Future. I think, again, today was a day where everyone said, you know what? It's time to turn the page. let's go ahead and go with Governor DeSantis.
Hey, listen, Marco Rubio did very well yesterday,
yeah,
too.
and guess what? Mike Lawler is really pulling out a surprising
Marco
victory.
Rubio was the presidential candidate going back in 2016. He was one of those 18 guys.
What did Trump
on the
call
stage
Rubio?
with Trump? I forgot what he called him.
No, what did Trump call?
Little Marco.
Little Marco, I think.
Little
A
Marco.
low energy, low energy Jeb.
Low energy Jeb. Yeah, Crazy Ted.
Crazy Ted.
He's a marketing genius, Trump.
He's a marketing genius. You know what? Looking back, there's some crazy things that I think we'll be teaching our kids in history, and it all happened within a very similar time frame.
But he was
Donald Trump becoming president. B, COVID. Like all these things are just nuts. You look back at Donald Trump actually became president. How I think that points to like such a failure of Barack Obama's end. At the end of his second term, that Donald Trump was able to win a presidency.
What about Joe Biden becoming president? What about John Fetterman becoming senator?
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty impressive. But how about Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania? Shomer
Shapiro's,
Shabbos Yid. He's now the governor of Pennsylvania.
Very, very impressive. He quoted from Pirkei Avos last night in his acceptance
did he?
Address. And he's been to Israel about a dozen times, I read. Okay, he's a very traditional conservative Jew.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to find him in a Aguda shul.
Maybe Young Israel? Not Young Israel either.
You're not going to find him in the Aguda or any place similar to any of the Stieblach in Brooklyn.
This, as we record this just 10 minutes ago, an email sent out by the Trump family. Friend, I have an exciting announcement that I can't wait to share with you on November 15th. I'm going to announce something huge at Mar-a-Lago, and I want you to be there. Enter here. This announcement will perhaps be the most important speech given in the history of the United States of America, and you could be there with me. All you have to do is contribute $5 or more, and you'll automatically be entered to be very first person to meet me at Mar-a-Lago and my big announcement.
Maybe he's going to announce that he's not running.
So Ben Shapiro wrote, this announcement will perhaps be the most important speech given in the United States of America. Big if true. What if he's announcing he's discovered cold fusion? Like, I think a couple of nights ago when Trump got off his plane at Dayton, everyone thought that he was going to be announcing that he's running for president there, and he didn't. I don't know what's taking so long. If he's going to do it. If he's not,
maybe it's all zigzag. How Donald Trump is about 76. He's about 76. That means he'll be 78 when he runs. That means he'll be 78. He's not that. He's much more robust apparently than Joe Biden is, and of course he didn't have a stroke like John Fetterman did. Although I have to tell you, Fetterman, even though it was late last night. Someone told me he was reading his speech, but he was pretty coherent.
It's amazing what a couple of weeks could do, right?
Well, he's supposed to be healing. He's not an old man. Unfortunately, he had a stroke, and he's recovering from it. Apparently he can't wear a suit or tie. He only wears sweatshirts and jeans. He was wearing sweatshirt and jeans last night. He looked like the guy that came to change the bulbs. He looked like he was going to be the senator.
He could have been part of the camera crew. But to be honest, that's how I dress for podcasts generally. So I can't.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a shirt today, so that's good.
Wearing a shirt, not tucked in though, but.
Yeah,
okay.
Something that is again annoying that we see that's happening after this election day is that we still don't have results from key states like Georgia, where Herschel Walker, and we don't have results from Arizona, and it just doesn't make sense. I really do believe that the way to vote, and this is how it's done in Florida, and we got Florida results really right away, is that you need to show up at a polling station, you need to show ID, you need to sign your name, and you need to vote, and that's how it'll happen quickly. And it's ridiculous. I went last night to go vote, and they say, "What's your name?" I tell them my name, they give me a ballot, and they go vote. I could have said any name, I could have said any address.
You didn't have to sign your name?
I signed on some iPad.
Oh, you
I could have signed it. I could have signed any name. Yeah. I could have voted for anybody. I could have gone in with a hat and sunglasses 20 minutes later and voted a different time. And how about the fact of harvesting votes, of going to these apartment buildings and with people who are older and just having them sign their name on ballots and filling it out for them.
Yeah, you have buildings with 500 apartments, and they have people going around that are deputized by, in this case, the Democratic Party. And they go with ballots filled out, and they get people to sign if you have to sign, and they tell them the date, and that's what's holding up the works in places like Arizona and Nevada.
I think it's ridiculous. Imagine I go to Starbucks and I order a coffee, and they say come back in 6 days. No, we vote, we get results. If someone takes a test nowadays in college, you don't have to wait for the results anymore.
Right.
They scan your test, and it's pass or fail. How come it takes 6 days, 7 days in order to get results for an election?
So what do you think? What are we supposed to be thinking is going on that's delaying, in these modern times, delaying everyone voted electronically. Where is the information?
It's
Just the absentee ballots, the paper ballots that were sent in. So many people are traveling. So many people are unavailable to vote. With all the 2 weeks of early voting, I think in Pennsylvania they started voting on September 19th. You know that?
No.
They had like 6 weeks of voting before election day. What else you got there?
The 15th of Cheshvan, this is via MKY. 15th of Cheshvan, Rav Avram Yeshayu ben Rav Shemayahu Yosef Karlitz, the Chazon Ish. In seclusion and privacy, he toiled in Torah with every ounce of his being, but when the world was destroyed, he stood tall, a general guiding young soldiers, investing the Bachram of the reborn yeshiva world with dreams and confidence to become leaders their same. What happened next was his doing. This master of prayer, of faith, and of humility, lyrical poet of connection, one whose heart beat with the rhythm of the Torah itself, and he and his Rebbetzin had no biological children, but their legacy shaped and still shapes the Torah world. The architect and general of Torah Renaissance, the Chazon Ish, which I believe is yahrzeit today. We have a picture over here, 3 o'clock this morning, of Meilich Biederman, the child of Bnei Brak, the Talmud of the Panovich, devoted Talmud of the Chazon Ish, was at the cave or davening at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I was speaking about Reb Meilich Biederman yesterday. The Spinker Rebbe from Bnei Brak was here in my office, Rav Sruli Weiss.
Oh, thanks for the invite.
And I knew his father because his father grew up in Crown Heights. And unfortunately, his father passed away in a car accident when he was 39 years old, about almost 40 years ago, a little less than 40 years ago. And I said to the Spinker Rebbe, I said, I'm going to come there to Yisrael for Hanukkah. I usually go to Bnei Brak to, sit with Rav Chaim, write a pan or a kvittel and get a bracha. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Where am I going? Am I coming to Bnei Brak? Who am I going to see in Bnei Brak? Yeah. He says, come to Rav Meilich Biederman. People are going there.
And you went?
I didn't go. I'm still here. I'm still sitting here. I'm going into Hanukkah.
So you've never been to Rav Meilich?
No.
I think
I'm going. I like what I see. I think I'd like to go.
And if I'm not mistaken, Rav Meilich is he studies the Ish Kodesh. He studies the Torah of the PSS now. And that's I went to Ish Kodesh a few weeks ago, and they had the yahrzeit of the PSS now in Woodmere, and they showed videos of the Rabbanim around the world who have their lives have been transformed from studying the PSS now to studying the Ish Kodesh.
All right, so
Rabbi Biederman is one of them.
So I filled an emotional void in my mind yesterday, thinking about going to Eretz Yisrael in a few weeks and making that half-day trip to Bnei Brak.
Absolutely.
Okay,
and another headline, this is via Yeshiva World News. Facebook parent Meta cuts 11,000 jobs. That's 13% of the workforce.
Wow.
Facebook parent Meta is laying off 11,000 people as it contends with faltering revenue and broader tech industry woes. CEO Mark Zuckerberg said in a letter to employees Wednesday, the job cuts come just a week after widespread layoffs at Twitter under its new owner, billionaire Elon Musk. There have been numerous job cuts at other tech companies that hired rapidly during the pandemic. So I guess this is just, after the pandemic, social media was really the only thing that was working during the pandemic, but now they're firing.
So
imagine 11,000 people out of jobs.
What were all these people doing that they don't know?
I'm sure they're building. I'm sure they're building code.
11,000 people. I mean, how much? This could be done by a few hundred people. I would think maximum. It's 11,000 people. It's like a little city.
It's a big company.
Oh, he's saving a lot of money there.
Well, listen, last week Twitter laid off about half of its 7,500 employees.
Well, he said before he took over that there was a lot of excess baggage over at Twitter.
Who?
Musk.
Musk said that?
Yeah.
So Brittney Griner, who's
she's a WNBA star, right?
She was a WNBA star, which doesn't really mean that she's that good at basketball, but she was in the WNBA. She was playing in Russia, and she was
traveling to Russia.
No, she was. I think she was.
Oh, she played for a Russian team. Yeah, she played for a Russian team. Sorry about that.
I think she played for a Russian team, or she was traveling through Russia playing basketball, and she was caught with a small amount of cannabis, of marijuana.
Yeah.
Which in New York you would probably get a gold medal for, but in Russia, she was sentenced to how many years in prison?
I think 9 years.
9 years in prison, and she's being now sent to a
forced labor camp.
I
don't think she's a dangerous criminal. I don't know her, of course, but
I think Russia is waiting to make a prisoner swap.
I think they're trying to force the issue. The relationships between the United States and Russia and a lot of countries, because of the war in Ukraine, is very tense.
Yeah.
And the United States must be holding certain Russians that they want back, and I guess this is the way. It's like a game of chicken, they squeeze you until you say, okay, till you cry uncle or you say chicken or however that game works.
Yeah. Well, I know that the NBA athletes are speaking out at the start of many games saying that she's being treated unfairly and it's unjust and the U.S. government should do something about it. I'm not sure if Joe Biden knows that Brittney Griner exists, but I think by the time that he does realize maybe something will happen for her. Anyways, that's our episode for today. It's a little bit of a shorter one, but what can we say? It's America voted. There's still obviously some elections that are up for grabs. Most notably is coming out of Georgia with Herschel Walker. But there were some nice wins. There were some nice wins.
It's disappointing.
Do you think that the Republicans end up taking the Senate?
I think so. I believe they're going to have like a 10-seat difference in the House. I think they'll have like 2.
But right now in the Senate, it's like 45-44 Democrat.
No, right now it's 48-48.
48-48. So
right now in the election,
so we need to see what happens.
There's 4 seats that have to be.
So who are those 4 seats?
The best thing that could happen is it goes 52-48 Republicans. So you have Herschel Walker and Rafal. Listen, everybody has nice Jewish names.
Yeah. Herschel and Rafal.
Walker, Herschel and Rafal in Georgia. You have Laxalt in Nevada, right? You have who else do you have?
Blake
Masters in
Arizona.
He's in Arizona, and there's one other. I have to look it up. Can I look it up? Anyway, if they get,
let's say they do get the Senate, they do get the House. What does that do? Now we're fighting with a president for the next 2 years.
Yeah, it pretty much a stalemate. You know what?
Wonderful.
Someone said last
this is why
night,
politics is not fun, and this is the last episode we're going to be discussing politics because it's just
let me say this.
It's just a circus.
You know what? If Biden wouldn't have had a Democrat majority in the House that he did the last 2 years, and the 50-50 tie with the vice president breaking the tie in the Senate, he wouldn't be able to do so much damage. Sometimes the best thing that the politicians, the elected officials in Washington can do is absolutely nothing. That's the best thing we should be rooting for. Just don't do anything. Okay. Let us live our lives. We know what to do. The world's going to function without you introducing all kinds of wild, innovative types of policies that change life very dramatically, that increase taxes, cause inflation, higher gas prices. Just stay out of it. So you know what? If the Republicans can manage to tie him up for the next 2 years, so be it. It's probably in our best interest.
Anyways, that's our show for today. If you have any stories, topics that you want us to address, please go ahead and send us an email at thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. Of course, please leave us a rating or review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. And we will be back here tomorrow with another episode. See you soon.
Be well.